So my name is Victoria Beltran, and I am a manager in GCU operations. And I'm here today to discuss a couple of improvements we're going to be making and just a little bit of campus updates. The current objectives that we're going to focus on is a couple of areas that we see a need for improvement, and then the ways we're going to do it. And those are going to be in our online enrollment, our staffing shortages, and our campus sites and constraints. The first constraint we are seeing is the decline in online enrollment that has occurred in 2022. Unfortunately, we weren't prepared for that because it was kind of due to a little bit more of external forces, where previously GCU was very ahead in online learning and the platforms that they provided. However, due to COVID in 2020 and 2021, many universities were forced to adapt their learning styles to online, and now are offering programs that they had never offered before, which has given a lot of students a lot more options for where they can go to school online, which has created a little bit of a decline for Grand Canyon's yearly enrollment growth. The next issue is, again, more of an external issue, and it is staffing shortages, which we are seeing a lot of different companies having them. However, I did pull the current staffing jobs as of November 1st. There are 253 jobs available and for Arizona. And the very important part of that is essentially 250 people in every different department, whether it's a facilities department, a enrollment department, or a academic department. It is affecting our campus, and it's affecting how we operate every day, just because we are short on those people. And part of these obstacles is creating the change that will improve them. And we will be using this 8-step change model to find improvements and to create longer change, longer lasting, because often we see that there are good ideas to change it. However, the necessary steps in the process for long-term change are not achieved unless, as step 8 says, you can make it stick. And one other important step to point out is going to be that increasing urgency, because these problems, it's not that they don't have solutions, it's just there are more short-term and day-to-day pressing issues that there are not designated teams to be addressing these right now. However, looking forward and getting ready for next semester and for the 2023 school year, we definitely need to designate specific teams to solve these issues, rather than continuing to push them off to kind of a tomorrow's problem. The campus space constraint, we already have the ideas of how we're going to fix it. It's just not happening for the long term, which is where those designated teams will come into place. The first thing is the GCU hotel was closed 2 months ago in August because of the housing constraints, which then led to pushing the Discover program, which is the program of bringing in the recruitment to stay overnight, to push them into the what used to be Discover program, but is now converted into dorms at the GCU hotel, because we are no longer able to house them on campus. And this was not determined whether it was going to be a long-term closure or a short-term, because it does affect a lot of groups on campus, like the hospitality groups, the doctoral groups. However, now seeing how many more students are wanting to move into campus that are being turned away, it should be determined to keep the hotel closed long-term and continue to use it for our recruiting, to keep that space on campus open for on-campus students. Another thing we have seen is GCU in 2022 to get the approval for 2 12-story buildings to be built, one at 35th in Missouri, and the other one would be on 29th towards Camelback. These have kind of been put on pause until an overall plan for transportation, for eateries, everything that comes with living on campus is able to be addressed for these students. However, again, putting a designated team on this and getting it in the works now will only better prepare us for next school year, rather than regretting not having put our resources to it sooner. Another thing is there are dirt lots on campus from where we purchased land and have not done anything with because there are long-term plans. Every piece of land on GCU's campus does have a long-term plan, whether it is going to be built on in 5 years or 10 years, or whether it's waiting on the land next to it to be purchased. They are all currently paused for a specific reason. However, due to, again, the constraints and students having to be turned away, it makes more sense to be slightly wasteful, build on the land now, and if we need to tear it down before we build on it in 5 years or 10 years, it would make more sense to do that rather than have to turn away students just because we have land sitting there that we're not doing anything with. And another thing that will help kind of reduce the space needed on campus is to encourage some online enrollment from our ground students. We still want them to get that on-campus experience if that's what they're looking for. However, they don't need to be taking, let's say in a semester they're taking 16 credits. They don't need to take 16 credits in person. They could take 12 credits in person and 4 credits online, which is what a lot of students previously did before the dynamic was changed in COVID, and they wanted all classes to be the same dynamic. By reducing just one class per student to being online, we won't need as many classrooms, and it will help hopefully reduce the amount of in-person teachers we need to help less classrooms and less teachers and still get the students the credits that they need for their programs. The next topic is going to be our GCU ethical values, because as a manager at GCU and whenever we're talking about improvement and growth, it is extremely important to consider the ethical values that our leadership has instilled and wants everybody that is representing GCU to be considering. Because as much as we want to make the experience quick and easy for building buildings and for expanding campus, the overall goal is to create positivity not only for our students on campus, but for the neighborhood around us. And by sticking to our core values and our servant leadership mindset, we're able to make decisions that incorporate the opinions of more than just what the short-term fix is and how it will affect everybody around them. And those core values of integrity and responsibility and creativity and confidence, I know those were a little out of order, but allow us to consider who we're affecting when we're putting up a building or taking down a building, and how we can use our resources to help the most people. Moving forward, online enrollment will need a little bit more of an incentive. Obviously, now students have so many more options with different universities they can go to, that we want to create that GCU is different, whether it's just because of the smaller class sizes or it's more flexible. We want to create an environment that people know that coming to GCU is going to give you a different education online than other universities. Obviously, we have that for the on-ground campus because the culture is just different than it is on other campuses. But with online, a lot of times people aren't getting that. So we want to make sure that we are creating incentive programs, and whether that's events countrywide that they can go to kind of meet the people they're in their online classes with, or if it's just simply creating more engaging classrooms, we want to find a solution to make GCU's online enrollment more desirable than the other universities. The next thing is staffing shortages. We definitely want to improve that through incentive programs. A lot of times people do want to come here because they want to get the tuition benefits. So we want to create that as a little bit of an easier process. Maybe you don't have to wait the 90 days, maybe it's 30 days instead. And then we also want to create it so they can have their work schedules flexible with school, because a lot of them are prioritizing school. So if we can create a little bit more odd-hour shifts to still accomplish the tasks we need, but service those going to school, we'll be able to incentivize and hopefully fill a couple of the 253 positions we have open. And then the campus land constraints. We do have teams designated to the building and expansion of campus. However, there's more work than there are teams to do it. And it kind of goes year round, that if we could designate over Christmas break and summer break some short-term off seasons work, which whether that is connecting with people that work in school districts and are off in the summers, we definitely want to do some sort of summer incentive for short-term work just to get these projects done, because I know a lot of projects this past summer did not get completed just due to time constraints, and we want to get that stuff done before students come back. And creating those short-term teams is going to help anybody who wants to just be a subcontractor to GCU and help us get those projects done a little bit quicker. The last thing is being able to manage that change, because while we might have great ideas or have a great plan, if we are not managing the long term and encouraging our own employees to be improving and following this change, it won't go anywhere. It will just be an idea on a piece of paper. And one way to do this is kind of create that company loyalty and promote from within. And then that way we can make sure that the people that we are putting in place in these management roles are familiar with the core values, the ethical standards, and the goals of these changes and how and why they're improving the university, rather than people that are just doing what they're told without any purpose behind it. We definitely want essentially the GCU find your purpose. We want that for our employees as well, and for our managers to have purpose behind everything they're doing. Thank you so much for following the presentation, and we're happy to answer any more questions in a follow-up presentation if you want to just submit them below. Thank you.